There is nothing I've felt in my life that match with that pain. Oh, I would say from 1 to 10 is 10. It's very painful. It hurts bad. I would rather get punched in my face than get tased. If I get punched in my face, I can react. If I get tased, like, it's nothing I can do. If someone tased me, I'm gonna be useless, worthless. There's nothing we can do.
You guys ready? While under power, Daniel's going to try to grab those weapons to demonstrate most likely the inability to do so under NMI. So with that being said, taser, taser, taser. End it.
What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Alex from IronInfidel.com, and today we are making a video about tasers. I've been tased a couple times in my life by the X26 and the X26P, which are basically the big brother and law enforcement variant of this, the TASER Pulse Plus, which is available to most of the general public in most states. But before we begin, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Sportsman's Guide. If you don't know who Sportsman's Guide is, first of all, you've been living under a rock, but go check them out. They're basically the most all-American company on the internet. They sell everything from firearms, ammo, hunting gear and accessories, everything outdoors and masculine, everything that our community really likes. So if you sign up over there, you get 10% off of their gear and 5% off of ammo. So if you're consistently buying ammo, head over to Sportsman's Guide, check them out. You'll be supporting a great company as well as supporting us. Now, this is how today is going to break down. Basically, I've got our defensive tactics instructor, Jared, coming on out to give us some brief instruction on the TASER device in case you're actually curious about buying it and deploying it. And then we're going to roll into practical application. I invited former UFC light heavyweight Daniel Sarafian out to get tased with us, of course. But he had the caveat that we would fight or grapple right after, so the joke ended up being on me, but there are benefits to that because first of all, we're going to demonstrate NMI, neuromuscular incapacitation, which Jared will go over a little bit later, but then we're also going to demonstrate the immediate recovery after the device is deactivated. So there is a method to our madness, guys, and I really think this is probably the worst idea I've ever agreed to. But without further ado, let's get started. All right, so we're back here with Jared. First of all, Jared, thank you for coming out. You're the defensive tactics instructor, the subject matter expert. Obviously, I know a fair amount about tasers. I've carried one for over 10 years. I've been tased a couple times, but I want to bring you out here because you're basically the end-all be-all of knowledge with taser. You teach cops about it. So you got your hands on the TASER Pulse Plus. That's the civilian version. We also have out here a X2, and I was talking about the X26 before. But give us a rundown of just basically the basic function of the Pulse right there.
The Pulse is a one-shot, kind of a fire forget variant of that, where rather than that 5-second ride, you can have 30 seconds. So the same kind of concept, meaning it's a control device, right? And when we talk about electronic control weapons, it's important to note that these are not a non-lethal weapon, right? These are not a non-lethal tool. These are a less lethal tool. We talk about the use of this device and how it works, the functionality of it. We're achieving NMI, and NMI is short for neuromuscular incapacitation, meaning that's that jamming signal that we discussed. It's going to stop somebody from their ability to fight. So unlike a CSB or OC spray or kinetic impact from projectiles from your other less lethal devices, this device completely, when used properly, completely shuts down the system.
And that's the key point right there, when used properly, because it's TASER is an extremely effective device. It's not a pain compliance device, but in my opinion, it's probably the most painful ride you can go
Absolutely,
through.
I agree.
But that's what it's not the purpose behind it. It's very, very effective at completely rendering them incapacitated.
Right.
But the key point to that is actually making that happen through a clean shot, getting a clean connection.
So the use of this device, when you understand how it should be properly deployed and its limitations and capabilities, is great. But again, distance management being a big part of it, This isn't going to be super effective up close. And again, beyond 15 feet with the pulse is not going to be effective either, right? So as those probes spread, we want to kind of get that happy medium, that sweet spot.
And we run into a lot of cops, law enforcement, who do rely over-reliance on the taser. And I think that sparks from the fact that those who have gone through it know how painful it is. They think that it's going to be effective no matter what. But these are staged scenarios where we know we're going to be achieving NMI by getting that clean spread and by getting the clean connection with the probes.
And I think that really kind of boils down to bad training, you know, and trying to get as much training done in the least amount of time possible, not really spending time discussing, you know, what the reality of using these devices are in the field in the real world, the real practical applications. And you're absolutely right. This has become, at least in the last couple of years, a pretty controversial, kind of litigious device. We have bad reporting from the media, and we have bad usage in the field by law enforcement, but it doesn't mean that this isn't still a great device. Any of us that have worked in law enforcement prior to these being conceptualized can understand and appreciate how awesome these devices can be in the field. However, when used improperly or when training falls short, it does get a bad name in some situations.
And just to wrap it up, key differences between the civilian version or the general population version of the Pulse rather versus the X2 or the X26. It's a drop and go device, 30 seconds as opposed to 5 seconds. You don't have a spare cartridge down at the bottom, so you're not going to be conducting reloads. So you really have one shot to make it happen. Well, with all of that said, nobody's watching this to get the general information about a taser. Everyone wants to see practical application. That's what we're here for today. You just had shoulder surgery, so he's off the hook today, but I'm not. And we also have Daniel Sarafian coming in. And I mentioned before, Daniel.
I want to see Daniel get tased first.
So do I.
If we're taking a tally, I want to see Daniel get tased.
For voting, there's only one person, Daniel, but I have a feeling that I'm going to be getting tased as well. And he had the caveat that we're going to be grappling right after. And as I mentioned before, there is some practical application to that. Just to see the recovery time, see what NMI looks like, and just to make it a little bit more fun. So let's get to it.
All right. Simulating that this subject is down, there's a weapon involved. We're going to show the demonstration of how NMI works, neuromuscular incapacitation. We're going to get a good spread, try to separate the hemispheres, giving full body NMI instead of just top body NMI. Alex is going to do his best under neuromuscular incapacitation, try to reach one of the weapons, but hopefully this will demonstrate his inability to do so. All right, so when I call out taser, 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 I'm going to deploy one dart, one set of darts, and we'll go from there. Any questions?
Let's do it.
On my taser.
Shop Sportsman's Guide.
And taser, taser, taser.
Oh! Whew.
Whew. Stay down. Sit down. All right. So, good 5-second ride on good full body NMI. So, as you guys can see, where these probes landed on Alex. We got one just a little bit above the waistline. I was trying to get that closer to his butt cheek again. We tried to separate the hemispheres to give full body NMI, but I think we achieved that, right, Alex?
You 100% did.
Okay, looked like it worked. So again, at the end of the day, at about 7 feet, that was approximately 9. We have a little bit over 1.5 foot spread. Perfect probe deployment. Again, absolutely no chance of him reaching that weapon. If with this pulse device, this bad guy was assaulting us and we had to get out of there, rather than that 5-second ride I gave Alex, that would be more of we could give him a 30-second ride, which should be plenty of time for the end user with this device to get the hell out of there. All right, simulating that this subject, Alex being the bad guy, just took the ride, but Daniel was unable to escape that confrontation. Just to demonstrate that this device will work well under power, but you got a certain amount of time to get the hell out of there or to come up with another contingency. Seconds.
took the flash.
Hang on, you got frogs in you, brother. And I've been tased now by the X26, the X26P, and now the TASER Pulse Plus. And honestly, I can't tell a difference between the three, as far as effectiveness and as far as pain.
I can tell you just from a DTAC and LLI perspective, I've tased a shitload of people, and that's an exact number, an exact shitload. And I have not, and that is as much as dramatic of a full body NMI effect that I've seen. So even with the X26, even with the X2, there's absolutely no shortage in the effectiveness on this device as opposed to law enforcement variants.
So as far as intensity and the ability to actually get that NMI, in my opinion, that's just as effective as the X26 that law enforcement officers are using.
Absolutely, absolutely. In terms of the NMI and to be able to debilitate the bad guy, fuck yeah.
Now, Daniel.
And by my own experience today, there's nothing you can do if you're under this situation.
Could you?
It's just impossible. There is nothing you can do. You just became worthless.
Yeah.
Your muscle contract. It is like. It is a suffering, like it's 5 seconds of suffering.
Yeah.
I mean, 5 seconds was our choice today. Huh?
But once
it could be 30, huh?
Once it was deactivated, were you able to get up and go right away?
I think because I'm trying to react as I'm tense, and then when he stops, the explosion come up.
Absolutely.
You know.
And that's kind of the purpose behind the 30-second activation that we've talked about before. Civilians, it's a drop and go device. You tase them, they go down. It buys you 30 seconds because as soon as that tasing stops,
it's almost automatic. Because again, to Daniel's point, you're resisting that to the best of your ability. You're resisting that NMI to where when that current finally does stop, it's automatic. You're already up to your feet, exploding, right? And that's a training point not only for the guys, not only for the pulse, but in law enforcement. We talk about using any ECW in a law enforcement capacity. You have a certain amount of time to control that subject, get him handcuffed, do whatever. Otherwise, it really was a waste of that taser deployment. So this kind of that demonstrated exactly what we're talking about.
So from the expertise and professional opinion of a defensive tactics instructor, how effective is the TASER Pulse?
Just as effective as any law enforcement variant. In fact, really effective.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. Daniel, you haven't been exposed to X26, but based on what you said, I think it's pretty effective.
Yeah, I can also tell that for the person that will be handicap me, will also be kind of hard work because I'm tense for this side here. So you're gonna have a hard time to turn my, so it will be like a physical activity for you to do that as well.
And when we talk about it again, this is getting more into the law enforcement side. When we do train the deployments of the X2 or 26 or whatever ECW, it's not necessarily able to get the cuffs on, but get your subject in that position of disadvantage, prep for handcuffing, because like you said, their hands may be buried and you're unable to retrieve them, but you can get in that catcher's crouch position. You can get set up to where when that NMI does expire, the holster's already in position where it's your hands are free, your handcuffs are available. When that NMI stops, you can retrieve those hands and start your handcuffing sequence. But I think more important, like we talked about with the pulse, use that 30 seconds, 5, whatever, to hit the brakes.
Yeah, so that's a 30-second ride to hell, is what that is. So,
Definitely. Literally.
with that pretty much wraps it up. Do you guys have any parting comments before we?
No, and I want to thank Taser because, again, this is my first time really getting to use this device, and without having the exposure with it today, I wouldn't know much about it, but I think it's pretty badass, and if anybody's interested, should probably definitely check it out.
Available in almost all 50 states. There are some states where there's some restrictions you have to go through and permits and things like that, but available to almost everybody. Extremely effective. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hopefully you entertained that video was entertaining to you watching us get tased. Daniel, thank you as always.
Thank you
for
very
coming out,
much. Appreciate it.
volunteering to get tased.
It was entertaining to me.
Dude, once you heal from that shoulder injury, you owe us
All right,
a ride.
we'll see. We'll play that one by ear.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. I really do appreciate your support. Don't forget to hit the like button and the subscribe button. And I'll see you guys in the next one.
Taser.